Hello, everyone. Let's cut straight to the point. Procrastination is a sneaky thief. If it doesn't steal your time all at once, it takes little pieces, minute by minute, hour by hour, until you look up and wonder where the day, the week, or even the year went. But here's the truth: procrastination isn't a time management problem, it's an emotional regulation problem. You're not lazy, you're not unmotivated, you're just avoiding something, an uncomfortable feeling, a fear of failure, maybe even the fear of success. And here's the kicker: we've been trying to beat procrastination by focusing on doing, but the solution starts with starting. There is one way to stop procrastinating, and it's not a magic trick or some 10-step plan. It's simple, it's actionable, and it's powerful. Ready? You stop procrastinating by taking action before you feel ready. That's it. You don't wait for motivation, it won't show up. You don't wait for the perfect moment, it doesn't exist. You act now, you move, even if it's just one small step, because action creates momentum, and momentum crushes procrastination. Let me give you 6 key takeaways to embed this mindset into your life. Recognize the trigger. Procrastination isn't random, it's a response to something deeper. To overcome it, you first need to recognize the trigger that's pulling you into avoidance mode. This isn't just about noticing that you're procrastinating, it's about understanding why. Here's how you break it down. Identify the feeling behind the delay. Pause for a moment and tune into your emotions. What are you feeling as you avoid the task? Anxiety, boredom, overwhelm, fear of judgment? These emotions often drive procrastination, not the task itself. For example, if you're putting off starting a report, it might not be about the work, it might be about fearing that it won't meet expectations. Procrastination is often tied to specific situations or types of tasks. Is it the big long-term projects, the calls or emails that might lead to rejection? Things you don't know how to start? Look for patterns. Awareness of these recurring triggers helps you predict and prepare for them. Ask the right questions. Once you notice you're delaying, ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What am I afraid of? What's the worst that could happen if I start now? Often, naming the fear or discomfort robs it of its power. Understand the payoff. Believe it or not, procrastination gives you a short-term reward. Maybe it lets you avoid failure, avoid discomfort, or even enjoy a momentary feeling of control. Recognizing this helps you disrupt the cycle by choosing a different reward, like the satisfaction of progress. Shift from feeling to action. Triggers don't disappear, but you can reframe how you respond. Instead of letting the feeling of discomfort stop you, use it as a signal. This is the moment to move. It's not about waiting for the feeling to pass, it's about acting despite it. Recognizing the trigger is powerful because it turns procrastination from an unconscious habit into a conscious choice. When you can see it coming, you can stop it in its tracks. The 5-second window. Let's talk about one of the most critical tools to stop procrastination, the 5-second window. It's a small, fleeting moment where you decide to either take action or fall into the trap of inaction. And here's the reality: if you don't act within those 5 seconds, your brain will find an excuse to stop you. The good news? This window of opportunity is all you need to overcome hesitation. 1. The science behind the 5-second rule. Your brain's primary job is to keep you safe and comfortable. When you're about to do something that feels uncertain, uncomfortable, or challenging, your brain fires up your fight or flight system, making you second guess yourself. That hesitation is where procrastination begins. Research shows that when you make a decision to act and follow through immediately, you can override that hesitation. Acting quickly prevents your brain from engaging in overthinking or self-doubt. 2. Why 5 seconds? 5 seconds is all it takes for your brain to shift from decision-making to talking you out of it. If you hesitate longer than that, the voice in your head starts to whisper. What if I fail? This will take too long. I'll do it later. To stop the cycle, you need to interrupt it. The 5-second window gives you just enough time to act before hesitation turns into procrastination. 3. How to use the 5-second rule. When you feel the urge to act, whether it's responding to an email, starting a project, or even getting out of bed, you count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. This countdown isn't just a gimmick, it works because it disrupts the default thought patterns in your brain. By the time you reach 1, you've shifted your focus from hesitation to action, making it easier to move forward. 4. Start small to build momentum. The 5-second window isn't about taking massive, overwhelming steps. It's about getting started. Instead of write the entire report, it's open the document. Instead of go to the gym, it's put on my workout clothes. Instead of clean the house, it's pick up 1 item. These micro actions create momentum, and momentum makes it easier to keep going. 5. The power of practice. The 5-second rule is a skill, not a one-time fix. The more you use it, the better you get at recognizing those moments of hesitation and overcoming them. You'll start to notice how many opportunities you have every day to act within that window. 6. A tool for every situation. The beauty of the 5-second rule is its versatility. It works whether you're trying to stop scrolling social media and get back to work, preparing to make a tough phone call, standing on the edge of a big decision. No matter the situation, it's a simple yet powerful way to take control. By mastering the 5-second window, you reclaim your ability to act before doubt takes over. Remember, action isn't just about what you do, it's about when you do it. And in those crucial 5 seconds, you have the power to change everything. Shrink the task. When you shrink a task, you're not abandoning the goal, you're reframing it in a way that feels achievable and manageable. Let's break it down. 1. The problem with big tasks. Big tasks feel intimidating because they trigger fears like, what if I don't finish? What if it's not good enough? Where do I even begin? This mental overwhelm leads to paralysis, where avoiding the task seems easier than facing it. 2. Break the task into bite-sized pieces. To overcome overwhelm, you need to make the task feel smaller and more approachable. Here's how. Start with a clear goal. If the task is write a research paper, identify one specific part, like find one source. Chunk it down. Divide the task into smaller steps, for example. Open the document. Write a working title. Brainstorm 3 ideas for the introduction. When the task is smaller, it becomes less daunting and easier to begin. 3. Commit to just 5 minutes. One of the most effective ways to shrink a task is by using the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself, I'll work on this for just 5 minutes. Why 5 minutes? Because it feels manageable and it's long enough to build momentum. Often, starting with 5 minutes leads to much more. You get into the flow and keep going. Even if you stop after 5 minutes, you've made progress, which reduces the mental barrier for next time. 4. Celebrate micro wins. Shrinking the task isn't just about starting, it's about acknowledging every small step forward. Each tiny accomplishment builds confidence and creates positive momentum, for example. Checked off one email? Celebrate that. Wrote the first line of a report? High five yourself. By celebrating progress, you reinforce the habit of taking action, no matter how small. 5. Use visual tools to simplify. Sometimes seeing the task visually can make it feel more manageable. List right out every small step involved in the task. Crossing off items gives a sense of accomplishment. Set a timer for a short burst of focus, e.g. 10 minutes. Knowing there's an endpoint makes starting easier. Calendars block out time for individual steps rather than the whole project. 6. Think of tasks as Lego bricks. 7. Shrink, start, succeed. By shrinking the task, you take the pressure off yourself to achieve perfection or complete everything in one go. You remove the mental barriers and replace them with small, actionable steps. Remember, you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. Shrink the task and the rest will follow. You said reframe the reward expanded. Procrastination often stems from a misaligned sense of reward. The tasks we avoid usually don't offer an immediate payoff. They feel tedious, challenging, or far removed from gratification. But the key to overcoming procrastination isn't forcing yourself to work harder, it's learning to reframe the reward in a way that motivates you now. When you shift your focus from the distant outcome to the immediate benefits, you tap into your brain's natural desire for rewards, making it easier to take action. 1. Understand why distant rewards don't motivate. Big, long-term goals like earning a degree, finishing a project, or getting fit don't feel real in the moment. The payoff is far in the future, and your brain prioritizes short-term comfort over long-term success. Procrastination wins because scrolling on your phone, watching TV, or avoiding the task offers instant relief or pleasure. To combat this, you need to reframe the task itself as rewarding right now. 2. Shift from outcome to process. Instead of focusing solely on the end result, reframe the task as an opportunity for growth and personal development. Ask yourself, who will I become by doing this? How will this strengthen my skills or resilience? What small benefit can I gain today by completing part of this task? For example, instead of thinking, I need to finish this report to meet the deadline, shift to every sentence I write builds my communication skills and reduces my stress for tomorrow. 3. Create immediate rewards. While the task may not inherently feel rewarding, you can attach a reward to it. Here's how. Gamify the process, set mini goals, and treat each step as a win. For instance, if I finish outlining this project, I'll take a 10-minute break. Stack enjoyable activities, pair the task with something you like, such as listening to your favorite music or drinking a cup of coffee. Celebrate small victories every completed step. No matter how small deserves recognition, even a mental good job helps. 4. Focus on reducing negative feelings. Sometimes the biggest reward is simply the relief of having started. Procrastination creates anxiety, and beginning a task often reduces it significantly. Reframe the reward as escaping the weight of avoidance. By starting this now, I'll stop stressing about it. The sooner I finish, the sooner I can relax guilt-free. 5. Connect the task to your bigger purpose. If a task feels meaningless or boring, link it to a higher purpose or goal. Ask yourself, how does this task align with my values? What long-term opportunities will completing this open up for me? For instance, instead of thinking this presentation is just busy work, reframe it as this presentation is an opportunity to improve my public speaking skills, which will benefit my career. 6, learn to love the challenge. Reframe hard tasks as opportunities to prove something to yourself. Instead of avoiding the difficulty, embrace it as a chance to grow. This is a challenge and I can handle it. Each time I face discomfort, I get stronger. When you see the effort itself as valuable, the process becomes its own reward. 7, visualize the ripple effect of progress. Small actions lead to big changes. Reframe the task as the first domino in a series of positive effects. For example, writing 1 paragraph today means less stress tomorrow. Clearing your inbox now creates a sense of control that boosts productivity later. I think of every action as a seed you plant today that will grow into something bigger. Reframing the reward is about changing how you perceive the task. Instead of focusing on what's hard or distant, focus on the immediate wins, whether it's personal growth, reduced stress, or the satisfaction of progress. Once the task feels rewarding in the moment, taking action becomes much easier. Focus on starting, not finishing. One of the biggest reasons people procrastinate is that they feel overwhelmed by the idea of finishing. The task seems too big, too time-consuming, or too complicated. The key to overcoming this, shift your focus from completing the task to simply starting it. Starting is the hardest part, but it's also the most important. Once you begin, you often realize the task isn't as intimidating as you imagined, and momentum naturally carries you forward. Let's break this principle down. 1, the myth of finishing. When you fixate on finishing a task, it creates unnecessary pressure. Thoughts like, I have to finish this whole report today, or I'll never get through all these emails, make the task feel insurmountable. This mindset triggers avoidance. By focusing on starting instead, you eliminate the overwhelm and shift your energy to taking the first step. 2, why starting matters. Starting does 2 powerful things. It reduces resistance. Once you begin, your brain sees the task as manageable rather than monumental. It builds momentum. Action leads to more action. Starting creates a snowball effect, where each small step makes the next one easier. Think of it like pushing a car. The hardest part is getting it to budge, but once it's rolling, it takes far less effort to keep it moving. 3, lower the bar for starting. To make starting easier, lower the expectations. You're not committing to finishing, you're just committing to beginning. Here's how to do it. Set micro goals. Instead of cleaning the entire house, aim for pick up 1 item. Use time-based goals. Decide to work for just 5 or 10 minutes. Tell yourself, I'll just start and see how it goes. Start messy. Perfection isn't the goal when you're beginning. For example, if you're writing, give yourself permission to create a rough draft. Polishing comes later. 4, overcome the fear of imperfection. Procrastination often comes from a fear of not doing the task perfectly. Reframe your mindset. Starting doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to happen. Think of starting as a first draft or a trial run. It's okay if it's not polished. What matters is getting something on the page, taking the first step, or beginning the process. 5, break the ice on the task. Sometimes all you need is a tiny push to get started. Here are a few techniques. Do a prep step. If starting a workout feels daunting, just put on your gym clothes. If writing feels overwhelming, open a blank document and type a title. Ask a small question instead of asking, how will I finish this? Ask, what's one small step I can take to get started? Start with easy wins. Begin with the simplest part of the task to build momentum. 6. Trust the power of progress. Starting creates a psychological shift. You feel productive and capable, which makes it easier to keep going. Even if you don't finish the task, the progress you make reduces stress and builds confidence. For example, writing the first paragraph of an essay gives you clarity and direction for the rest. Sorting one stack of papers reduces the overall clutter. Progress, no matter how small, is still progress. 7. Repeat the cycle. Starting is not a one-time event. If you feel stuck mid-task, focus on starting again. Break the task into smaller chunks and treat each new chunk as its own starting point. This approach helps you stay productive without feeling overwhelmed. By focusing on starting instead of finishing, you take the pressure off yourself. The act of beginning is often all you need to overcome procrastination. And remember, starting isn't about doing everything, it's about doing something. Once you've begun, you're already winning. You said discipline over motivation. Let's get one thing straight: motivation is unreliable. It's like waiting for the perfect weather to go for a walk. You might be waiting forever. Discipline, on the other hand, is like an all-weather jacket. It equips you to act regardless of how you feel. If you rely on motivation to get things done, you'll only work when you feel like it. But if you build discipline, you'll act because it's who you are, not because it's what you feel like doing.
The shift from motivation to discipline is the secret to lasting productivity and overcoming procrastination.
1. Why motivation fails. Motivation is fleeting because it's tied to emotions, which fluctuate constantly. One day you wake up energized, ready to tackle the world. The next day you feel tired, uninspired, or overwhelmed. When you wait for motivation to strike, you give your emotions control over your actions. Discipline, however, is about acting in spite of how you feel. 2. Discipline is a skill, not a trait. Discipline isn't something you're born with, it's a skill you develop through consistent practice. Every time you choose to act despite not feeling motivated, you strengthen your discipline muscle over time. It becomes second nature. 3. Start small to build consistency. Building discipline doesn't mean overhauling your entire life overnight. Start with small, manageable commitments and honor them consistently. For example, commit to 10 minutes of focused work each morning. Do 1 push-up a day to build a fitness habit. Write 1 sentence daily to establish a writing routine. Consistency is key. Small, repeated actions build trust in yourself and reinforce your ability to follow through. 4. Use systems, not willpower. Willpower is finite, it runs out as the day goes on. Discipline relies on systems that make it easier to act. Here's how to create systems. Create routines, set a specific time or trigger for tasks. For example, I'll write every morning after my coffee. Eliminate friction, remove obstacles that make it harder to act. For example, lay out your gym clothes the night before. Use accountability, share your goals with someone who can check in on your progress. Systems ensure you act even when motivation is absent. 5. Reframe discipline as freedom. Many people view discipline as restrictive, but it's actually the opposite. Discipline creates freedom. The freedom to relax guilt-free because your work is done. The freedom to take on bigger goals because you trust yourself to follow through. The freedom to achieve success because you're consistent. Discipline isn't about denying yourself, it's about empowering yourself. 6. Focus on identity, not feelings. When you rely on motivation, your actions are tied to how you feel. Discipline shifts your actions to be tied to who you are. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? What would a disciplined person do in this situation? For example, instead of saying, I'm too tired to go for a run, reframe it as, I'm the kind of person who keeps commitments to myself even when I'm tired. When your actions align with your identity, discipline becomes easier to sustain. 7. Reward yourself for consistency. Building discipline doesn't mean abandoning rewards. Celebrate the act of showing up, not just the results, for example. Treat yourself to something small after completing a consistent streak, e.g., 7 days of focused work. Track your progress with a journal or app to visualize your success. This reinforces the habit and makes discipline feel rewarding in itself. 8. Discipline fuels motivation. Ironically, discipline often creates motivation. When you take action, even when you don't feel like it, you create momentum. That momentum generates motivation to keep going. Action comes first, feelings follow. By focusing on discipline over motivation, you free yourself from the trap of waiting to feel ready. Discipline is your safety net, your backbone, and your ticket to consistency and success. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. When you choose discipline, you take control of your life, one action at a time.